circle of guardians.
Did you still have the monster voice? I think you do. Hold on. Oh, you turned. No, it was off. Yeah, it was off. Now you sound like an idiot.
Well, I guess that's every day, but you know.
It's every day. Let's see if we can do this. Try it again. Go ahead and speak.
Welcome to the circle of guardians.
That is creepy. Because I think that's your inner demon.
That's too funny.
We all have a monster inside, Brian. Do you really want to meet this guy when he's pissed off? I don't think so.
That's an evil laugh. Do you hear that laugh? I want my cup, man.
Yeah, you won't do that again.
Oh, God, you mean pineapple, huh?
It's watermelon.
Watermelon, I got it.
Watermelon, summertime.
So I'm thinking about this, the movie Good Will Hunting. Because I like when they say wicked smart, right? You wicked smart. And I don't know how the thought got there, but I remember I like that first bar scene, right? When he tells that guy, he basically beats him with an intellectual conversation, which I thought was the coolest thing ever. But these guys are violent, and I saw them get in fights all the time during the movie, right? And as I'm thinking about this, going down this stupid rabbit hole, I go to put my socks on. And then I see what's in my drawer, and I end up putting on 2 socks that we'll talk about in a second. And I pictured myself hanging out with these guys, and what if I got in a fight? Now, I'm pretty good at kicking sometimes, maybe. And what if I kicked you in the face and knocked your ass out? Right? Now, think about this. What socks do you think I'm wearing right now? If you got your ass kicked by me and I took my shoes off, you'd be embarrassed. Watch. I want you to name them off because I'm going to step away from the mic. So the first one is going to be, look at this one. Look at this sucker. I'm right-footed, so let's start with that one.
Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai sock, baby. Look at this one.
What's that?
It's like the
burglar?
Like the burglar, man. But it's stupid. But if I kick your ass, I'm probably wearing something stupid like this.
You gotta make like a big, like flat, wide brim hat for like the Hamburglar.
It looks like the Hamburglar. That's what it reminded me of. So anyone out there who gets in a fight, right? If you get kicked and you're down, the most embarrassing part is probably when the guy takes his shoes off at the jail and you see he's wearing like Cobra Kai socks. Or even worse, like Cinderella or Strawberry Shortcake.
Yeah.
Right? That would suck. Okay, man, I think we're good to go, dude.
All right.
John Gamma's here and Brian Stud Lehman, the Monster Lehman. All right, tapping up, and we are welcome to Circle, brother.
Yeah, welcome to the circle.
So Oz ditched us. He's moving into his house, and he's making it sound like he's doing it by himself, which I think he's probably is. And I just thought about this right this second. We're staying here and just chilling and talking, and we're like, man, where's he at? Shouldn't we be helping him? I feel bad. He said he was going to be doing the next couple, but I thought he was going to be available today, but obviously he's got a lot to do.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work, man. Brand new house. He's going through all that stuff.
Of course, he's probably sitting in his pool in that house.
You know what, dude?
Probably sitting there with a couple good-looking chicks wearing thongs.
All right, let's get a visual here. Let's see what he's really doing. All right, let's talk about this. Yeah, I bet she's got like the Red Bull girls there, right? And the Coors Light girls.
Oh, man.
Wow. Wait. If he does, why aren't we there? Because we didn't help him, he's going to say, because we didn't help him move.
Yeah.
Sucks. What are they doing right now? Just say, what is it? Hot tub stuff.
He's on a raft in the middle of his pool.
No, I feel bad, but I'm not going to go help him. I'm busy today. I'm lying. I probably will. I'm going to call him and see if he needs help. Seriously. Yeah. Now, I just thought about that. Like, I put myself in his shoes. Like, oh, yeah, you guys are worried about the podcast. Why don't you get your butt over here and help me move my shit in? I said, yeah, I'm thinking I would say the same thing. I wouldn't want to ask for help, but anyway, you're messed up for not helping him. So I'm in the gang unit at this time, right? And I got assigned to the Metro team. So I worked for a PD sergeant, and it was a great team, man. These people were squared away. Sergeant was great to work for. It was this week they had a motorcycle rally or something, and it was at this park, Southwest Fresno. And I hear a call come over the radio, and it's shots fired, which is, that happens there all the time. It's nothing new. Shootings are a daily occurrence. In fact, we used to have a joke, right? Officer would show up during a shooting over there, and nope, nobody here. QOA. There's like 50 shells on the ground, dude. It's a Forge 15 with shell casings. It's a disturbance with shell casings, but that's it. We're not going to document anything. Yeah. No, I'm kidding. But I'm not. But anyway, we get a shots fired call, and I'm with a female, partner, and she was a good girl. I'm in JFED. So she knew what she was doing, very experienced officer. And we're arriving on scene. I'm driving, and we go through this back way. There's a back way to get to the park. Jump a little curb, and we're looking, right? Well, so when there's a shooting, you're looking for the chaos. There's no chaos. Looking around, you're looking for some indicator where this occurred. And it's a big park, but there's not that many people. There is a few hundred, but it's not like like the 3Com or Candlestick, whatever they call it now, or that. It's not a huge place.
Yeah.
So we end up just driving, and we still can't find it. It probably takes about a minute and a half, and we're like, do we have the right place? And finally, this guy pulls up in a car next to us, right on the grass, and he says, "Hey, there's a dead motherfucker over there." Like, what the okay. So sure enough, we start driving, and this is what we see. It looks like a huddle, but everyone's in the huddle with the cell phone out recording. Yeah. And it was, and I'm thinking, well, I can't see, so maybe somebody's helping them on the other side of this, this huddle. But I get out, I go up to the huddle, and no, this guy is laying on the ground, bleeding out. And he's in distress, obviously. I mean, he's shot several times. So my partner, she comes over with me, and right away, we don't know where the shooter is. And we see everybody with something in their hand. And, we're doing a quick assessment, and what do we have to do? Well, we got to do medical, but you're still nervous, right? Because where the hell is the shooter? He could be anywhere. He could be one of these people, literally one of these people. So I start chest compressions, and we were waiting for a bag to get there. So we're starting CPR, and as we're doing CPR, a couple of more guys show up, Jose being one of them from the SO. And I like watching that guy when he works with crowds. But he gets there, but we can't get anybody else over there. Like, that was the scary part, is we're calling for help, and the way we got in is because she knew how to get in through the back way. Well, a lot of people didn't know that. So when we're saying, hey, we got confirmed shots fired, a guy down, we're going to be starting CPR, And we're certain, you know, that side of town, it's not safe for officers. It's just not. They're not friendly. Let's just say the history they've been shot at, they've been attacked over there, and family members of officers have been murdered over there. So they know how dangerous. I know how dangerous it is, and the radio, we can't get any officers to back us up. I mean, they're on their way. They can't make it to us. The crowd is keeping them out, or the traffic. It was just a mess. I heard it was a lot worse than I even knew. Like our supervisor was panicking; he couldn't get to us. And right when Jose gets there, it felt good. But what do you think happens when he gets there? There's a second guy shot, and on that side, maybe about 20 yards away. So that's where he goes. So he doesn't have our back as far as the crowd's concerned anymore. And now he's doing CPR, him and his partner. And there's 4 of us on scene that nobody can get to.
So you're both teams are in the same predicament.
Yeah. He came to protect. They were going to come in. And I heard them taking control, him and another guy, Hawk, you know. They're taking control real quick, and I felt way better because these were the Brutuses, right? They're the guys that show up and they'll kick the door, they push people back. These are just 2 guys you don't mess with. They started doing their thing, which is very comforting, and then they had to go to wait on the other guy, and we lost that. So we're back to doing chest compressions, and I'm going to be completely honest here. I thought the only way I'm going to survive this is to concentrate on this guy. As long as I'm helping him, maybe I'll be left alone because it's a hostile environment. That was my tactic. I remember thinking about it. This is how I'm going to survive because I can't. If I do anything else, I just don't see it going well. You know, this is that territory. Finally, we get motors happen to be there in the area, which is thank God, because they cut through all the traffic, and I saw those guys rolling up. I love motor officers because of that, man. Thank you guys. They started taking control of the scene and getting people back, and they did not mess around. It was really. I felt a lot better when they got there. That's where I met a buddy of mine to this day. That's how we met. You want me to take over chest compressions? I go, no, I got it. But he started bagging. It was Marky. Bradford. Have you met him? He's awesome. We tried, but that was one of the first times I had seen it on someone else besides someone I knew. But you know that look, right? When they're about to die. This is it. They get this. There's a certain look they look at, and this guy looked at me. He looked me straight in the eye. And then I remember just nodding at him like, I'm here. That's a moment people just don't know about, you know? And he's looking at me, and I saw him go. And that's the stuff that haunts you later. But it also comforts me. He knows he wasn't by himself or just cameras looking down at him. So that's the comforting part. Now, I did that. I know some people think I'm crazy, or some people say you should have waited. And you question yourself, what should we have done? Well, the bottom line is they called and we were there. We rolled up on that and we reacted. We did something. And I'm good with that. And I'm going to tell you, if the same thing were to happen right now, I don't think I would change anything. Unless, the circumstances changed a little bit. Or I don't know. Same circumstances, like we were caught off guard, we happened to be there already. If we would have run away from that situation, I think the relationship with law enforcement and the community would have been damaged. And that's why I banked on that. Hey, we're doing something. Maybe if we're helping him, we'll get left alone, even by the shooter. We're still here. So, I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, based on what you're saying, you guys did the best you could, right? You get like a crap sandwich, and that crap sandwich just grows a little bit, and you're there to act, right? You don't. It's selflessness, right? You don't think. You go in, And you think, you know what? Hey, this could be an ambush, right? And we get trained that that shooter could be in that huddle over that body waiting, and a couple of their friends could be there too, and that could be the initial plan. And you get sucked in because you want to help somebody, and you guys could start taking rounds. And you guys, we go into it, and we know that that's part of the job. That's the hazard. But what is my immediate job right now? It's to save somebody's life initially. While thinking about the bad guy, or where is the bad guy, or other than that, you're focused on trying to keep this person alive and doing what you can, and then we'll go look for the bad guy later if he's not sitting right here with a gun.
Right.
So that's the honorable part of the job, is going in and doing that work when you might be afraid, or you might be concerned, or whatever you're going through. And on the flip side of the coin, let's just say, you guys went in there and you guys ended up just leaving, right? You talked about that, right? Well, what if we didn't do anything?
What if we didn't do it? Yeah.
Well, I think the people in that community would have seen that, and it just adds more fuel to the fire, to where, their bad behavior towards law enforcement would increase, right? It would give fervor to their behavior. And, it's already a bad situation. You're there. And then any other call going into that or those type of communities where you have to go in with a couple of their units, because you got to have people to watch your back, right? You might start taking rounds from down the street, when you got a 6-year-old on the corner with a cell phone calling people down the street, hey, 5-0's coming in, or whatever. And they're coming out, coming out of the house before you even get to the house.
Yeah. And you got the 6-year-old hiding an Uzi, dude. Mom, catch! I mean, but that's so funny you say that. There used to be 5-year-olds that were flipping us off as we're driving by. And it's really a community, some parts of it, that it's not welcoming. They don't want you there. You only they basically they call you up to pick up the bodies,
Yeah.
And I used to drive down there, and sometimes I would hear, get the fuck out of here. We don't want you here. Telling me that. And, you just smile. That's all I would do. But that's not, we don't get to choose who we serve, right? You just don't. Hey, give me a good one. That's the one I want to go help.
Well, it's, I saw a meme one time, and, it talks about that you may throw things at me, you may curse me, you may wish me dead, but I'm still going to be here for you, right? No matter what, right? You get firefighters, right? When firefighters show up, and everybody loves to see a firefighter. Their house is burning down, they're dying or whatever, and then everybody's happy to see a firefighter. But when the police show up, and especially in some of these communities, we get stuff thrown at us. You roll into a community, people come out shooting guns in the air, trying to intimidate you, trying to get a rise out of you. They won't communicate with you. They want to fight with you. Sometimes they want to shoot at you. So it's a different story. It would be easier to just say, I'm out of here. I'm not going to do my job, right?
Yeah.
I only want to work in the wealthy areas where people are respectful and like law enforcement for the most part,
Yeah, but unfortunately, that's not where we go most of the time. Yeah. And we're there. They don't think we're there helping them, but we are. And even too, I'm thinking, the dope guy. Yeah. You're doing him a favor by getting him off the street, because he's going to go to a program. He's going to get help. It's going to be free. Well, at least it used to be, until some laws passed that took all that away. Yep. But we were having an impact. I remember we were making an impact. You were if you were arrested for dope, right? I remember this. You're arrested on a felony. If you go to a program, knocked down to a misdemeanor, it's off your record if you finish the program, like you never got arrested. Wow. And you get help for free. It's assigned by the court. Wow. Great deal. And a lot of people were successful. It was making an impact. And then that law passed. It turned everything to a misdemeanor. No more programs. No more money for programs. And now we're dumping all the prisoners into the county system, which drains, the funds even more. And so, yeah, you're drained a different way. But you're right. I think they don't even know that we're helping them. And I get that. I mean, how many times have you been to a domestic and you arrest, let's just say the guy, and you got the woman's maybe hurt or beat up pretty bad, but as soon as you arrest him and try to take him out the door, what does she do? Jumps right on your back. Don't take him. I'm here to help, but all right. And it's sad, but you kind of get it at the same time, right? But you have to do that. You have to show up and you have to do something. And what if people just stop doing something, right? Because it's kind of starting to get that way a little bit. To my understanding, it's very difficult to find officers that are proactive these days because of things that have happened in recent history, being lawsuits, public appeasement. And, it basically looks like the officers being left out hanging to dry, even like the department's taking no stance on it. So I understand that. If you're an officer and you're seeing other officers get thrown to the wolves when they're just being proactive and trying to make a difference in the community, why would you put yourself at risk? Why would you put your safety at risk? Why would you put your career at risk? Why would you put your livelihood, right? Why would you put that at risk to put someone in jail when everyone is coming after you for doing your job?
Plus the civil litigation that would come with that.
Right.
It's
scary. It's really scary. And but I'm a big believer that so what? Come after me. Because I'm not going to do anything wrong anyway. And you can make it, and they can make it look that way. But that is a scary thing. But I don't think consciously I could just stop doing it. I don't know. What about you?
Well, I look back and I think, if I was in their shoes now, I would just answer calls for service.
Yeah.
I would not go out and be proactive. It's easy to say, oh, well, just do your job and go out and be proactive and whatever happens, happens. Well, it's easy to say until whatever happens, right? You go out and it's gotten ridiculous now to where you could arrest the same suspect 3 times in a 10, 12-hour shift. And you've got 3 reports, 3 PCDs, and the guy's still out. Or
before you're done with the paperwork?
Yeah, that's hours of paperwork, right? And they're going to be out breaking into cars and creating more havoc for the community, right? So, and then, they may not want to be arrested and you have to use force on them. And then, different factors can come into play. And, force is never pretty, right? You use force on somebody, it's violence. And that's what the public needs to understand. And I think that's what people making decisions also need to understand is that you draw a line in the sand and the bad guy crosses it. And at some point in time, they're going to call your bluff. And you have to use force to keep order. If you don't, then it's just going to create havoc and mayhem.
Well, yeah, and let's be honest, I'm not bluffing.
No.
And I don't know, they think we're bluffing because they see some YouTube video where some inexperienced officer did nothing, right? Or he looked incompetent, and it's not their fault. And we all start off with like a baby giraffe, not being able to walk.
Yeah.
But they see that and they take that as a sign of maybe, like I said, incompetence or weakness or whatever, like they can get away with that. And then they find out real quick that's not the case. And then they're, hey, you can't do that. I'm like, you watch way too much TV. Yeah, I ask you, then I tell you, then I make you. But you had to live by that rule because otherwise you get hurt or you're putting someone else at risk. But getting back to the point, I have to be devil's advocate here, just for the sake of thinking outside the box. That sounds real comforting, not doing anything, but then again, aren't we blanketly calling it a problem like people do with us? You get one bad apple, right? And they blame every cup's bad. So maybe a couple of administrations, or a few, maybe quite a few have done that. But is it all of them? Not really. We don't know. So, but on top of that too, say you do nothing. Butterfly effect. You just don't know how it's going to function. That guy that you could have stopped on the way home and you decided not to because no one's going to have your back, breaks into your house later while you're not home and one of yours family is a victim of something. And you're the one that drove by that. Now, from a perspective, that was always where I came from. I was supposed to be inserted to do something, not inserted to ignore. If you ignore, then you're part of the problem. And we can't be everywhere at once, right? But we are. I do believe we are put in certain locations at certain times for reasons. And I'm sure that's happened. I am, and I have another kind of incident where I actually flipped a guy, and he became an informant. But what happens when they become informants? They get out. Well, he got out early, didn't do any time, and then I find out later he orchestrates a double homicide. That also butterfly effect. I'm thinking, if I hadn't let him go and cut a deal so we could get this good dope off the streets, he'd be in jail. And those two people would be alive. So on the flip side of that, you see the decision making that goes on and how your brain can just like, damn, I can damn if I do enough, I'm damned if I don't.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, that person made the decision to orchestrate those murders.
Correct.
Right? You did what you felt was the best thing, and you can't control what he or she does down the road, right?
Right.
But I do agree. I think, when I look back, I do believe that myself and even others, we were put in a specific place at a specific time to affect somebody's life,
Right.
positively or negatively. And when I say negatively, it's like, to take that person to jail, to the negative aspect would have been to use force on them, it was a negative situation for them that could have turned into a positive down the road because it would change the trajectory of their life.
Oh yeah. How many times have you talked to a guy and I know this feeling because I got arrested once. I can tell you how big I felt when those cuffs went on, and it was like that big. Right when they went on, I felt like I can't explain it. I felt like the scum of the earth, and so every time I put those on, I remember that feeling that I had, and you don't beat into these guys. You already got them in custody. You don't make it worse. But how is it good for them? Because later on down the road, you're right. Maybe it helps them. Maybe they change their life because they don't like that feeling. I know that's what changed me. I didn't like that. I didn't want to be that person. So you're right. Sometimes when you're affecting an arrest, you're helping that person to change. But when is it the opposite too, right? So it's a very unique position we're in, but I think no matter how you look at it, doing nothing is always, it'd be mostly the second choice for me. Because there's sometimes doing nothing is the best thing to do, right? I'm not saying that always doing nothing's bad. Sometimes it's the right thing to do. But things in my power from a traditional doing the job aspect, I think I got to do something. I'm glad I don't have to do it anymore, but yeah. I mean, I even told you about the bottle story, right? Perspective is everything. So, I know you have to have seen some people it doesn't have to even be the job, but what have you seen examples of somebody just like not doing anything at all while something is occurring and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about that one.
Well, that's an internal affairs case.
Oh, no, we don't go. Where's, hold on. Where's that thing? Where's that?
Where's that? What the voice?
Yeah. Don't talk about that.
What was that rule 1 of Fight Club?
Don't talk about Fight Club.
Don't talk about Fight
We don't
Club.
talk about Fight Club.
But I think across the board. So we're talking about failure to act, and I think it's not just in law enforcement, but I think we're seeing, and you touched on it, is we're starting to see this in society, and we're starting to see this across the board. You get good people who fail to act, and so why is this happening, right? So I'll give an example. In 2021, I don't remember what month, but there was a young woman. I guess she was attractive. She was on the subway, and an older male, career criminal, got on the subway, was trying to hit on her. She didn't want to give him any play. And at one point in time, she actually pushes him away, says, "Leave me alone." And then I guess he didn't listen to her. And so for the following 30 to 45 minutes, he decides to forcefully sexually assault this woman while a number of people looked on, men and women.
When you say looked on, you mean like in the same?
The same train car.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So the report through the news said not one person intervened. But through the investigation of law enforcement, they went back and they looked at the footage in the car. And for 30 to 45 minutes, no one contacted law enforcement with their cell phones, but they had the wherewithal to pull these cell phones out and record this woman getting raped. And no one acted. And it took an off-duty subway, I don't know what it's called, but it's something similar to BART, an off-duty employee to notify law enforcement. At the next stop, law enforcement came on, and when they entered the subway, this guy was still actively sexually assaulting this woman while people looked on. And of course, they obviously stopped it, took him into custody and stuff. But 30 years ago, this would not have happened. Less than that, there were those young men on a train somewhere in Europe, right? And they wrestled a guy down who had a gun.
That was just a few years ago. Mm-hmm.
And so why aren't people acting now? I can tell you, if I was on the train, and even if this guy was 280-pound monster linebacker, I can tell you I would have stood up and I would have done something. And even if he turned and was beating the snot out of me or stomping me, guess what? If he's kicking my ass, he's not raping her.
Right, yeah. Take the ass whipping. That's what we do. We're the shield.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And maybe she can get away, move to another car, whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I would gladly take the butt whipping for that. But now you have this young Marine in New York that ended up subduing a criminal on the subway, and he had two other helpers, and he got him in some sort of chokehold. From what I heard, it's like a rear naked chokehold. They held the guy down for a while on the ground, and then the guy ends up passing away. He ends up dying. I don't know if the chokehold was the cause of that, or whether he had drugs on his system, or if it was positional asphyxiation. I don't know. I don't. Only the coroner would know that. But now this young Marine is facing charges.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you just from experience. I'm going to guess it's going to be positional asphyxia because that's real. There's a big misunderstanding about the rear naked choke, like they refer to it, right? Only when applied incorrectly is that really life-threatening. It's actually a really safe technique. What you're doing is you're squeezing the carotid arteries, right, that go up to the head, which cuts off oxygen to the brain, which they're rendered unconscious fairly quickly. However, once you let that go, the blood goes right back in, the oxygen's right back in, and they come back really quickly. But what that allowed me to do was get the cuffs on. And why I love that technique so much is because it's the equalizer. It doesn't matter how big they are. You can do it. And I've had guys, really big guys who have no experience in martial arts ask me, I bet you can't choke me out, And a few minutes later, they're going night-night, But it's not, and it's not bragging. It's that effective of a technique. And in fact, who's best at it is like women with real thin arms. It's a great technique for them.
It's like hitting pause.
Yeah.
In the situation.
Correct.
Like you have somebody who's fighting or whatever, or causing a problem. I'm going to hit the pause button for 30 seconds.
And you probably just saved them from making a dumb decision because if you're at that technique level already, you're probably, most of the time anyways, now it's going to be, well, I can't use that technique or I'm going to get in trouble. So the only alternative is to shoot them. Yeah. So be careful what you wish for. If you're going to take that away, you have to know the consequence of that. Now you're telling people, okay, you can't have that. Just shoot them. And then they're going to question that, of course. Well, were you justified to look? If I was justified to put my arms around his and make him go to sleep, I'm probably already there at the fact that it's going to be deadly force. I'm going to tell you in my experience that technique saved so many lives because they wake up 10 minutes or not 10 minutes, a few minutes later, and they're like, "Oh, what happened?" They have no idea what happened, and they feel relaxed, and they're actually calm. Most of them. Some come back just how they went out, fighting. But they ask and they don't even remember what happened. Like, they don't even remember me doing that. And I've seen other officers do it, and they don't remember. Hey, you choked me out. No, never happens. They're just like, what happened? So it's very effective. But when you talk about positional asphyxia, that is the killer for me. And you add to that maybe drugs or maybe a pre-existing medical condition, right? Then that's going to be the issue. And how when I went to defensive tactics school, a couple, people from the department to get certified as an instructor, that was the first time I learned about positional asphyxia as far as being put in that position. And I'm going to tell you, it's real. It is absolutely, you cannot breathe. When they say, and I used to hear some people say, and I was, guilty, me too. Well, if you can't breathe, how are you talking? Right? Well, no. I mean, you can get enough air to say, I can't breathe, let me go. But you are basically, you're helpless. So what they did is they put the handcuffs on me and laid me on my stomach. So what happens? Your body itself becomes the dead weight. So how do you expand your ribs and everything else in your lungs to breathe? You can't. Take on that, put some weight from an officer on your back. How are you supposed to breathe? And then you can't. So the solution is roll them on their side. So if somebody, we train officers in that because they made us feel that to know how real that is. And you do borderline panic because if you can't breathe, I mean, nothing else matters, And even the people who were, a little skeptical about, it's bullshit. I saw every one of those people change their mind that day because you're in that position long enough, it's going to happen. So as we come back and we're teaching this technique, to everyone, make sure they understand that this stuff is real and don't leave them that way. I don't care if they're fighting. If you got them in cuffs, roll them on their side. They need to breathe. We're not here to take shit personally. And that's why when I saw that tape, of the thing that happened to Mr. Floyd, I was pissed off at that officer. And like, that was wrong. That was completely wrong. You knew what you're doing. You can't be an instructor and not know that. So that's one incident where I believe that officer did the wrong thing. But and it's officers like that, which is why they take things away that actually work, right? So pull an expert in, pull anybody who teaches defensive tactics. They're going to tell you, he did that to me, he did it on purpose. He knew what he was doing. He did that. You can't take away everybody's guns if an officer shoots somebody on duty or off duty, right? And because of a love triangle or something, you don't take everything away. But because of that, and I say that because I think that was an intentional act on his part. I found out later that they knew each other, worked together, and didn't like each other. But taking away things that actually save lives, it's such a knee-jerk reaction, you know?
So the question is how do we change it? How do we start moving back in the direction we came from 30 years ago? And it can be regarding law enforcement, you know, or even just for the public to act.
Yeah. You know, I think what needs to start happening, instead of hyper focusing on the bad, I think good and bad there has to be an ending to the story. Now think about this, and this is what I'm getting. I'm not going to say argument, because I said when people think they're arguing, I think we're finally talking. They always have these stories about these officers, right? And that did this or did that. They're bad. They're bad. They're bad. And all you have is a videotape from the beginning. Mm-hmm. Well, then the officer's exonerated 3-4 months later for doing nothing wrong, and all the evidence is pointed out. Does the public hear that? No. I think there needs a mandatory closing out of everything, so you know, and it's right in front of your face. Be a checkoff list. Oh, it turns out this, and that. This is why we have to become a society where we actually strive for intelligence, and rather than let's go by our feelings. And that's all we care about, or that's all the public cares about. Or not the public, but the media, that's what they put out, right? Because they know that's what's people are going to tune into and get emotionally attached to that. And then you have a reaction and you have conversation. But is it truly an intelligent, we need to be an intelligent society that has a problem in front of us, right? Recognize it, solve it, and then show how we solved it and what the resolution was. Get a disposition. That's how problems are solved, right? Did it work? But we become like a bunch of kids. Show me the ice cream. Oh, I want that. I want that. Or, I don't want that. And then the story ends. It's like, what? I don't all they want to do is put stuff out there. That's the problem. And then talk about how they feel about it and why it should be another way. Well, that's when I think we're striving away from intelligence and actual being a community, a society where the culture is problem solving and working together. But it's not. It's separation and divide and conquer, right? Because it's a tool for politics. It's a tool for the media. It's a tool to make money, whatever it is that they're using it for. But I think we're allowing ourselves to be portrayed as ignorant people because we only want to take things so far. You know, I say if you're going to report something, report it from beginning to end and give everyone their due. The Constitution says you have to. You know, and they give the media protection. So how about making the media accountable for that stuff? Right? You want to be able to have freedom of the press? Cool. But let's make sure that everyone is entitled to their day and their speech, right? Because what's happening? We have a right to free speech, but we're silenced. And then when we want to tell our side of the story, the media silences us.
Well, I think also if you put out the info from the beginning to the end, if you're going to air it in public, I think, the allegations, if the allegations come out that somebody did wrongdoing, they go through the process, they get exonerated or whatever, you put that info out. And that's an example, right? It shows It's an example to other people who are on the job. It's an example to other administrations that, hey, you know, this person that looked bad in the beginning, but hey, this is what the outcome was. And so other people won't be so afraid or concerned about following suit and standing behind your people. Okay.
Well, not even people. You're standing behind the truth. Find the truth. That's all I wanted. You know?
But the truth is, you know, perception. Perception
And you're
is
right.
reality.
Yeah, well, I disagree with that completely. I think that's
Yeah.
yeah.
But that's the world we live in, you know, these days.
And you're right, because perception is that individual's reality. It doesn't mean it's the truth. Like I have this ongoing joke I tell, you know, when somebody has a different story than I do, I go, look, they got their version, I got the truth.
But I think, you know, going back to how do we change people from failure to act to act? I think it goes back to I think back to my childhood, right? And I think it comes back to, you know, how do you raise your kids? And, you know, I think that somewhere along the way, society has gotten away from teaching their children to always do the right thing, not the popular thing, right?
Right.
Have the fortitude sometimes to endure that the right thing may get you chastised, right? You know,
You may be alone.
you may be alone, right? But always stand up and do the right thing, say the right thing, be honest. If you see something happening to somebody, stand up for them. Stop them from continuing to be assaulted.
And there's so many levels to that, what you just said. Like, wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. And I think people are going to put that together. Seriously.
We have to get back. I mean, because you can say something to adults now, but you know, if you have an adult that has the mindset, I'm not going to get involved because it doesn't affect me. I can't change that. We can't change that necessarily. You know, at that moment. But if you start with your kids while they're younger and instill in them the virtue or the value of doing the right thing,
Yeah.
and letting them understand that, hey, sometimes, you know, people might pick on you for doing the right thing, but always do the right thing, no matter what.